Hello and welcome to Mad About Superheroes cartoon commentary of the Superpowers Team episode Seeds of Doom. Now, the Super Friends cartoon at this point, this is the late 80s and had been on for quite a while, for years, since the 70s. And I think this final season and the one just before it tried to be a little bit more sophisticated, get a little more for as well as young kids, but maybe teens could watch it as well. Maybe they took the cue from cartoons of the era. I think especially Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. Super Friends was always very kid-friendly, so this tries to step it up a notch. And the last season before this, they had introduced a new character, Firestorm. I think trying to appeal to teenagers, younger kids. That the Super Friends have always tried to incorporate kids somehow into their storylines. Going back to the very first season, they had like Wendy and Marv and like I think it was like the Wonder Dog or something like that, which was pretty silly. But in this, they incorporate the new character is Cyborg, who I knew at the time when this was coming out. I was collecting Teen Titans comic books, and Cyborg was a member of the Teen Titans, with Robin and Wonder Girl and Kid Flash, Raven, those characters. And I loved that comic book. So I was glad to see Cyborg incorporated into this series, but it also felt kind of weird. Cyborg was a Teen Titan to me. He wasn't, a Super Friend or I never understood why they didn't just call it Justice League. They always had these weird titles. They had the Super Friends, and then there was always like a subtitle, World's Greatest Super Friends, and this it's like Guardians I don't know, some some nonsense. Always as long as they thought that kids wouldn't understand what a Justice League was, but they always had these weird subtitles, and it's like, well, what are they gonna understand? The Intergalactic Guardians, whatever the shit this called. So now we got a little battle here. Lex Luthor showed up in this big like spider ship or something. It's pretty cool. I would have liked to see Lex Luthor in this series. He had like a battle armor around this time. That was cool. Very toyetic. A lot of stuff that came out in the '80s, especially cartoon-wise, was meant to promote toys. And there was a toy line, Superpowers, when this cartoon series came out. It's a very cool toy line. And Marvel's competing toy line was Secret Wars toy line, which was also very cool. I collected them as a kid. I'm sure many of you watching did as well. And Cyborg, very toyetic character. He just changed. He's got like these gizmos he can put on his hand to remove his hand and put on his hand to do different things, which I always liked. Even going back to the comics again, I recently reviewed the comic book, the last part of the Judas Contract from the Teen Titans comics, which transitioned Dick Grayson from Robin into Nightwing. So you can go to my homepage and check that out. I'd appreciate it. And Cyborg saved the day. The Super Friends couldn't, put the kibosh on Lex Luthor. Cyborg stepped in and did it for him. And as Superman saying here, anybody who can capture Lex Luthor, it would be a welcome addition to the Superpowers team. But Cyborg's like, nah, I'm good. And Cyborg is voiced by, what's his name? He's one of the Ghostbusters. Ernie Hudson. He plays Winston in the Ghostbusters, which is cool. And the original voice of Batman, I'm not sure of the voice actor's name, but he took over the voice of the Professor, who's part of the part of the Firestorm character. The two guys, the Professor and Ronnie, they formed together they merged together, to form to form Firestorm. Getting characters confused here. Sorry about that. But he became the voice of the Professor, and the point I'm trying to make is they made room for Adam West to take over the voice duties on Batman, which is very cool. Adam West is from the '60s television series. And I love the incorporation in this series, going back to when they introduced Firestorm of Darkseid and the Planet Apocalypse, and and all his minions like Desaad here. Very cool characters created by Jack Kirby, who used to work for Marvel for many years, and was a little disgruntled when he left, and he went to DC in the '70s, and he created some very cool characters for DC. Their you know their greatest villain, Darkseid, which is very cool. And Marvel, of course, the Marvel counterpart will probably be Thanos, right? Created by Jim Starlin. But again, this being going slightly more older, skewing a little bit older with introducing these characters. Aside from this is my favorite season of the Super Friends. They had so many titles, we'll just call it Super Friends. Because of that, because of the introduction of these characters. Firestorm is like, he doesn't understand why Cyborg won't join. Like when they asked him, he flipped out. He really wanted to do it. But Cyborg's a different guy. Again, trying to add just a little bit more characterization, to make them a little bit more complex instead of like the seasons before this, going back to the '70s. The Super Friends characters were very interchangeable. They all have basically the same personality. They're very virtuous and righteous characters, and kind of cardboard superheroes. So with this, they're trying to add just a little bit more characterization, especially with the Cyborg character. He's a little bit more complex. Doesn't want to join right away. Has reasons for the way that he thinks, and he's not just a copy of Superman or Batman, which is cool to do that. He's working at a school for disabled children, which is cool. And he Ernie Hudson, the voice of Cyborg here, he wanted to voice his character for the Ghostbusters cartoon, but for some reason they didn't use him, which seems weird. I believe that originally they used in the, I'm not sure if they retained the same voice actors throughout, because the Ghostbusters cartoon was on for a while, but they used Arsenio Hall was the voice of Winston on the Ghostbusters cartoon. But now we have the two younger characters interacting, and Firestorm is reaching out to Cyborg to try to convince him to join. And he's maintaining he's not interested. Cyborg wants to live a normal life, even though he's got cybernetics in his body. He just wants to be a regular guy. It's going back to the origin of the comic books. This wasn't his choice. This is something his father, who was a scientist, did to him to save his life. And he can't change back and forth like the other Super Friends that have secret identity. He just always looks like Cyborg. That's just him now. And now we got Calabac showing up. This is Darkseid's son. An interesting story going back to the comics is that there was like a child swapping situation going on between Apocalypse and New Genesis, the two different planets, and there was a peace treaty, and Darkseid swapped sons with Highfather from New Genesis, and so Calabac is actually Highfather's son, who's adopted by Darkseid, and then Orion, who's Darkseid's son, is adopted by Highfather. Weird stuff going on there for the peace treaty, but yeah. But they don't go into that in this cartoon series. That's a little bit too weird and complex, for kids, I guess. But I was reading it in the comics, and I loved it. I thought it was very cool. I like the weird, stuff. And Calabac is always trying to prove himself to his adopted father, Darkseid. They got these seeds and some kind of component inside of it. And whether Cyborg likes it or not, he's going to get thrust into this world. And these seeds they're growing here, and all these weird plant tentacles. And here comes Superman showing up to get into the mess here and help his buddies out. At the time too, they would always do. It was a big thing around this time when there was a cartoon series. They'd always have like a comic book adaptation of it or further stories. And Superpowers had a few limited series that they put out. Going back to Jack Kirby, Jack Kirby illustrated. I think it was a 4 or 5 issue limited series. There might have been actually been 3 of them. I think Jack Kirby did 2 of them, and then the third series was done by someone else. So that's cool, you know. And I mentioned on my last cartoon commentary, Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends also had one, and also did a cartoon commentary of Incredible Hulk. Incredible Hulk, I didn't mention it on that, but he had also had a comic book adaptation of the episode that had Quasimodo in it. So that's pretty cool too. Yeah, I have that one too. Don't have any of the Superpowers comic books. Wish I did, but don't have them. Now Darkseid is making threats here to the Super Friends. That's not cool, man. Darkseid's not a very nice guy. And I always liked the design for the Hall of Justice on the Super Friends. They did a little bit of an update on this one, which is cool. It looks cool. I like how Firestorm's sitting there. That's pretty cool. He's floating in the air. His legs crossed. And here's the Adam West doing the voice of Batman. There was I think it was a 70s Filmation Batman and Robin cartoon series that both Adam West and Burt Ward, who played Robin on the 60s television series, they did the voices for, which was cool. It was hard for the two of them. They got typecast in that role. It was hard for them to get work. So, they did some voice acting. And more recently, there was 2 cartoon movies that they put out with them doing the voices, which were cool. But I digress. Back to Super Friends. They're, like I said, Cyborg is getting thrust into this world now, and now he's in outer space on a spaceship, and he's kind of flipping out about it. And they're traveling to Darkseid's homeworld, Apocalypse. They're being proactive about the situation. They're going to take it head on. And they're like, what do you call it? It's like hyperspace or something, or that they're traveling through. So, this it's pretty. It's unfortunate that the Zack Snyder Justice League film, what happened to that? Because they were setting up these characters, Darkseid and Desaad and Calabac and all these characters, and there was even a quick flash of like Granny Goodness, and it's unfortunate that didn't work out because I'd really like to see those in the DC films. Hopefully they get it together enough where they formulate a plan and we'll get to see those characters soon. I don't know if it'll be in the Zack Snyder continuity or if they'll start over again, but it would be very cool to see these characters in the films. But going back to the last season, the one before this that introduced Firestorm, Darkseid's got like a thing for Wonder Woman. He wants like Wonder Woman to be his queen, so she's kind of using that, to their advantage, so they can infiltrate and do their thing. But I like Gal Gadot, I believe is how you say her name. I liked her as Wonder Woman. I'd like to see more of her in the films. I didn't really care too much for Wonder Woman 84. I thought it had some cool scenes in it, especially the opening, but not really a big fan of that film, but would like to see more of her. So going back to the thing of I don't know if they're going to continue with the continuity that's been set up or if they're going to start over again, but I'd like to see more of her. She's very good as Wonder Woman, especially in that first film. But again, they're teaming up the 2 younger characters, Firestorm and Cyborg. They got a pretty cool dynamic going on here. This is kind of like foreshadow to like what they did. I think it was like the early 2000s where they finally put Cyborg in the Justice League. Again, very weird for me. Cyborg, to me, will always be a Teen Titan, but they put him in the Justice League. Even going back to the movies, he was even in the Justice League movie. And but for me, he's always a Teen Titan. But it's cool, to have Cyborg as a in the Justice League too. But I just have such fond memories of him in the Teen Titans. So like I said, yeah, this is like foreshadow to to them actually. I wonder if they saw this and said, yeah, why not? Why shouldn't be Cyborg be in the Justice League? That's kind of a cool idea. Always wanted the Cyborg superpowers toy, but I was never able to get a hold of it. I had the Firestorm, but I didn't have the Cyborg, unfortunately. I had a bunch of those. They were really cool. They had like what do you call it? Boy, I'm really drawing a blank today on my words. Like you'd squeeze their legs and their arms would move and things like that. Or the Hawkman, you'd squeeze his legs and his wings would move. They had those action features. That's what I was trying to say. Yeah, speaking of Hawkman, there he is, making a brief appearance. Sometimes some of these characters, they get pushed aside and they become like background characters, and they get like one line of dialogue or something. And they made up some characters for diversity sake, like Samurai and Apache Chief, and there was a Hispanic character too. I'm drawing a blank on his name, but they were well-meaning. Now they seem kind of, stereotypical, but it was a start. You know what I mean? Now there's a lot of that going on now too, where everybody wants to be diverse and add all that stuff to films and television, which is a good thing. But they tried. There were other attempts as well. Like I said, this was very well-meaning, but now you look at it and it's like a little cringe. It's like, maybe that, wasn't the right way to do it, but they were trying. You know what I mean? Hanna-Barbera was I guess they were trying to do that. Take a look at that and say, we need some more diverse characters in here. They could have pulled. There were comic characters that they could have used, but I think there was rights issues or. Sadly, they didn't want to pay royalties to the creators, which is weird. But so they created new characters. So this is the first time where they usually have a black superhero, and that was actually from the comic books instead of making up a new one. So I appreciated that because, like I said, I had a history already. Like I knew this character. Holy crap! Cyborg's gonna be in the Super Friends. That was really cool for me. Now we got Desaad. I love the eye beams, the Omega beams that he shoots out of his eyes, and they can go different directions and whatever, and follow you. I always love that. And he's using them, trying to use them on Cyborg and Firestorm. And they're gonna use Darkseid's seeds against him. Just cool. And Firestorm has the power. He can change the form of things, something to do with organics or whatever, which is cool. So he just did that with that wall. And they're making their great escape here. But of course, the Darkseid and his minions are no match for the Super Friends. And sometimes, they would try, Wonder Woman was always a strong character, and she was pretty badass. Although they did a couple times reduce her to a damsel in distress. But always a strong female character for the Super Friends, especially going back to when it came out, in the 70s. And it lasted till the late 80s. It's a long time for a cartoon series. It kept getting reinvented, where they would introduce new characters, subtract characters, introduce new villains. It definitely got better as it went. There's the one season, there's the Challenge of the Super Friends. That one's really good, where it has like the Legion of Doom, and they have that cool fortress that rises in the swamp. And Lex Luthor's like the leader, and there's all these different bad guys like Gorilla Grodd and Brainiac. That would probably be my second to this last season here that I like the best. But now Cyborg is finally realizing he'd be a good addition to the Super Friends, or Superpowers, or Intergalactic Guardians, whatever whatever they calling this shit. And kind of like the way that Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends origin of the Spider-Friends ended, start of a beautiful friendship. And that's pretty much the episode. And as always, thanks for letting your geek flag fly with Mad About Superheroes. And we'll see you on the next one.